Good afternoon, everyone. Triple E in the house. Hope everyone's doing well. It's a beautiful, beautiful day here in Huntersville, North Carolina. And I want to introduce this next video. And it's going to be unlike any video I've done in the past. Usually my videos are regarding travel, going to another destination, right? Reviewing a hotel or a restaurant. Well, this video is completely centered around my dad. In the previous video, I mentioned that my dad lost his battle with cancer on June 2nd. And he was such an amazing man, an amazing father, amazing husband. And I really want to memorialize him in this video. And what I'm going to be sharing is a interview that I did with him last summer. It was an idea that the family came up with about just doing a life interview with my dad. I wrote up 50 questions and I posed them to my dad, and it's kind of cool to hear his stories, right? And this interview, he will live through this interview. So I just want to share a little piece of my dad with everyone, and hope you enjoy. Please comment anything that you'd like to put, and I appreciate you getting to know my dad. So, Triple E is out. Good afternoon, everyone. We're here in amazing Akron, Ohio, and we're going to be asking one of my favorite guys, my dad, my hero, some questions. We're going to be interviewing him. I put together 50 questions, and we're going to get his spin on life and some of the awesome things that he's done and a lot of his memories. So let's go ahead and get started, Dad.
Okay.
So just name and date of birth.
Name's Cal Sabo. Date of birth is December 28th, 1940.
Christmas baby, right?
Yeah.
Right after Christmas. Where were you born in, what city and what hospital?
No hospital. I was born at home at 439 Ohio Avenue in Clarendon, Pennsylvania. I was delivered by Dr. Stork.
Okay, awesome. Do you know, how much you weighed or anything, or?
400 pounds.
You filled out nicely, right?
I don't know.
Okay. How about name of your mom and dad?
My dad's name was Zoltan Sabo. Mom's name was Aline Hartwig Sabo.
Okay. All right. I know you had a couple siblings, right? What were their names?
Sheila was my sister, who was 2 years older than me, and Robert Patterson, was my brother, who was 15 years younger than me.
Okay. All right. So I want to get into memories, and I was talking to my sister Lori about my first memory. What was your first memory?
I think this really happened, but I'm not exactly sure. I sort of remember being in my crib and waking up in the morning and want to get out and be with the family. And I crawled on the hand railing and crawled to the top and fell down to the floor and sort of panicked my mom and myself.
I'm sure. So even at that young age, you had just a love of family and wanted to be with everyone, right?
Yeah.
Going to school, what grade school did you attend?
First 2 years to Short Street School in Clarendon. Then 3rd grade through 9th grade at Walnut Avenue School.
Okay, all right. Do you have any favorite activities during this time, hobbies?
We used to play Army a lot, and we also played football, whatever was in season, we would play, you know.
Was Army just like kind of cowboys and Indians back then, or
Yeah.
just okay, pretend battles and stuff like
Later
that?
on, when we got older, we would play with BB guns.
That's awesome. That's funny. When I was younger, we used to do something similar with bottle rockets. So
yeah.
not the smartest thing, but it seemed like a good idea at the time,
Yeah.
right? How about some of your friends maybe in grade school?
Well, first friend was Richard Lucas, who lived 2 doors up from me, and Jackie Herring were 2 there. Once I went over to Walnut, Jay Hoffman, Bob Bloomberg. A little side note on Bob Bloomberg. He just turned 82 and had a hole-in-one in a golf course.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. Are you still in contact? Well, it sounds
Yeah.
like you are with at least Bob.
With Bob, yeah, on Facebook.
Okay, that's great. All right, let's talk about maybe some favorite stories from grade school.
Well, when I was in grade school, I kept getting hives.
Mm-hmm.
And no one could figure out why. Finally, it dawned on my mom that every time I ate plums, I would get the hives. And so she quit giving me plums. But in school, we were playing a game called Upset the Fruit Basket. And every person was given a fruit, and they gave me plums, and I said, "Don't do that, I'm allergic to plums." And they laughed because they said, "Well, you wouldn't really be eating any plums, we're just saying you have plums, you know." And I get home at lunchtime and I have a couple hives. Just the power of the mind.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
And you were allergic to plums, your entire life, right?
I haven't had a plum in 70-some years, probably maybe 80. No, it couldn't be 80, 70-some years.
Wow, that's crazy. Did you have a favorite grade school teacher?
Yeah, Mr. McGogany.
Okay, what did he teach? Or at grade school, I think they teach everything, right?
He taught most everything. This was about 7th or 8th grade that
Okay.
and I liked him because he had some really cool ways of teaching things.
Okay.
Like in the area, Clarence on the Monongahela River, and he says a lot of people have trouble spelling Monongahela, but I'm going to teach you how I learned. He said, Monongahela City, which was up from Clarendon, had some really cute cheerleaders. So we would go to any of their games, and they had this cheer, MONONGAHELA. And he would have the whole class do the cheer.
That's awesome.
Or he'd linking verbs with me. A, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. And just different chants and stuff like that. And I remember all that stuff clear to today.
That's awesome. It's a great teaching method. It reminds me of someone who taught me how to say Chicago. How does that go?
Chicken in the car, and the car can't go. That's the way you spell Chicago.
Absolutely. That's good stuff. Let's move on to your high school years. What's the name of your high school, and maybe a favorite subject or two?
Clarendon High School. I liked history best.
Okay. And that's something you've loved. You've had a passion for reading, and I know you read a lot on World War II, so it looks like that love of history started pretty early for you.
Yeah, I've always been particularly good in history and geography.
Yeah, you would have
too. I've been good in a lot of subjects, but those were 2 that I always felt that I was really strong.
I always thought that you would have given Ken Jennings a run for his money on Jeopardy. You playing sports in high school?
Yeah, football.
Okay. Position?
Guard.
Guard? Okay. Awesome. You guys pool a lot?
No, I was terrible pulling. I was slow as hell. I got yelled at
Tough coach?
from the coach because I would get there way later than the running back.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. How about some best friends in high school?
Our best friends in high school were Jay Huff and Bob Bloomberg again.
Okay.
That's two that come to mind real quick.
But the football team was pretty good, right?
Football team was very good, but my dad made me quit because I was doing bad in plain geometry.
Okay. All right. Studies first, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So after high school, Dad, you made a decision, and I think it was the decision that was able to allow you to visit a lot of the world and kind of get out of your comfort zone of Clairton, right? So what did you decide to do right out of high school?
First off, my dad wanted me to be a plumber like he was, and he wanted me to become an apprentice plumber. And I tried that. The first thing I knew about plumbing is I never wanted to do it again. Mm-hmm. Hated it.
Yeah.
So I wasn't doing anything for a while. And finally my mom says, hey, you can't, you're not retired, you got to do something.
Yep.
I said, I think I want to join the Navy. So I joined the Navy.
Okay. So you joined the Navy right out of high school or after a brief respite, or and where was boot camp?
San Diego, California.
So that's way in the West Coast. What did you think of San Diego? How was boot camp, that experience?
Well, boot camp sucks.
Yes.
Boot camp's a bitch.
Okay. So then
San Diego, the weather is nice.
Absolutely. So out of boot camp, I'm sure they put you on a ship. What was the name of the first ship you were on, and what type of ship was it?
It was a USS Brain, and it was a Fletcher-class destroyer.
Okay. What ports did you go to when you were on the USS Brain?
Went to, our home port was San Diego.
Okay.
Went to, went to Hawaii.
Okay.
Midway, Guam, and the Philippines.
Okay.
And then back to San Diego.
Wow. Okay, so seeing the world at that early of an age had to be really, really cool,
Absolutely.
Right? Experienced so much, right?
I was 17-year-old when I first got on there.
That's awesome. That's cool. What was your primary role?
Well, I wanted to be an electrician's mate, but when I got on there, my officer, division officer, said, I don't need electricians, I need black gang. I went, what the hell is that?
Okay.
He says, boiler room.
Oh, gosh. Yep.
So put me down the boiler room, which was hard work and hot, but a really great bunch of guys.
Awesome. So how long were you on that ship? And then I know you moved to another ship. What was the name of that? And how did that...
I was on there a year and a half.
Okay.
And then I got transferred to the USS Kuntz, which was a guided missile destroyer.
Okay. And
actually a guided missile frigate.
Okay. And same role there in the boiler room?
By that time I was dedicated to being on.
Okay. And of the ports you visited, because I know you went to a couple others, you know, what was your favorite port that you...
I liked Bremerton, Washington a lot.
Okay.
I liked Hong Kong.
Okay. Amazing that you got to see all the world like that.
I'll tell you the ports I had on the Kuntz.
Okay.
That again would be San Diego was our home port. And then Bremerton, Washington was our home place where the ship was built, where we got dock work.
Mm-hmm.
But then we went on a cruise, from San Diego to Hawaii,
Mm-hmm.
to Midway, to Guam, to Yokosuka, Japan, Sasebo, Japan, Kobe, Japan, Shanghai, Korea,
Wow.
Olongapo, Philippines, Manila, Philippines, Hong Kong, Perth, Australia, Albany, Australia,
Wow.
Melbourne, Australia, Sydney, Australia, Fiji, back to Hawaii, and back to San Diego.
That's amazing, all the places you visited. And that's Australia is on my bucket list of places to go.
Australia was fun.
Yes. And nice people down there, too, from what I've heard,
Absolutely.
right? They welcome the Navy. While
They
some
liked Americans big
Okay.
time.
Awesome. Any favorite stories from the Navy? I know I've heard a couple, but
Well, one of my good friends on the Coons was Leroy Pyland. He was Indian, from an actual Sioux Indian. He was a small, slender guy, and we were on midnight watch together. There were four of us, and he was up on the main deck. He went to go to check on if we were making smoke or not. You don't want to make smoke. He went past the galley, and saw a cook in there making donuts. So he crawled through the porthole, stole a big pan of donuts, a real big, like 3 foot by 4 foot, snuck out, came down. We ate until we were almost sick.
that's awesome.
Sent him up to the forward fire room, which there's 2 boiler rooms on each ship like him. They ate as many as they can. We told them to send it back to the after engine room. And then after that, we had him throw the pan overboard.
So no evidence. The evidence is gone, right?
Yeah. Next day, now hear this. We were going to have donuts for breakfast, but some of your shipmates stole them all.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a really funny story. I love it. One story I love from when you're in the Navy is I remember you guys were out in a typhoon, right? And I think...
Yeah, I remember that. That again was Leroy Pilot and I. We were both petty officers by then. I told the guys to take the laundry up, the dirty laundry up, and they came. These were just firemen, they were under us. They came back and says, "It's too rough, we can't do it." I says, "Oh, you guys are wimps." So Leroy said, "We'll show you how to do it." We climb up high on the O2 deck, which is as high as we could go. We're dragging that up, a big bag, and that Leroy yells, "Cal, watch out. Look up. There's this huge mountain of water up there." And I was afraid we were going to get wiped overboard. Got completely soaked. Lost the bag and the clothes. Went out to sea. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that was scary, but it, yeah, big time.
Had to play like you're a macho.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I had it all the way, right? Yeah. All right, those are awesome stories about the Navy. Any other stories you'd like to share in your time in the Navy?
Yeah, there was one where this was in Melbourne, Australia. I'm coming back from Liberty. I don't know why I was by myself, but I was drunk. And came up to a fence. Our ship was inside this fenced-in area. And the fence was about 10 foot tall or something like that. If I walked around to the gate, it was going to take many yards. So I decided to climb over the fence. I was climbing up the fence when all of a sudden a spotlight gets on me. It was a paddy wagon bringing back guys from who were drunk and stuff.
Yeah.
They said, get in the paddy wagon. And I thought, oh boy, am I in trouble. But they said, we're just taking you back for your own protection.
For your own safety, right?
Yeah.
Any other stories?
Yeah, on the way back, after we completed our duties on a cruise there, we were heading back to the U.S., and the Admiral did this, is just saying we did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
He had us cross the international date line on Thanksgiving. So we had, before we got to the international date line, we had Thanksgiving. When we crossed it, we had Thanksgiving again. And each day we had all the turkey and all the dressing and all the good things we could eat.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. That's never enough turkey, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to college. What college did you attend, and maybe a reason or two why you chose that college?
Okay, first college I went to first year was Brigham Young University. And my reason for going there, my dad was talking to some of his buddies, and one was Mr. Nixon. Mr. Nixon, if he spent a nickel, he wanted to get $1's worth back for it.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at all these universities, and the Mormon Church puts a ton of money in. And he felt you get the most educational buck for any school by going to Brigham Young. So I went there, and it was an excellent school as far as teaching, but I'm not a Mormon, as you know, and I always felt I was an outsider there.
Okay.
But had some fun times there.
Absolutely. See another different part of the United States, I'm sure, which is cool.
Yeah. My college roommate was Denny Zadrali. He was from Clairton also.
Oh, okay.
And we lived off campus. And my landlord, he did all kinds of things with us.
Okay.
He wasn't that much older than us, exactly. And he would rent these tote goats, and we would all, they're sort of like an all-terrain vehicle.
Okay, yeah.
And we would go, like, out to ghost towns and stuff like that.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and other time, his wife, her dad was an actual cowboy up in Wyoming, and we drove up to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and we met the cowboy, and then also they have a thing where they feed the elk, and we were able to go out on the wagon with a guy who was feeding the elk. We get about 10 yards out of there, and it starts raining harder than hell. Never been so soaked in all my life.
Did you get a chance to feed the elk?
Yeah.
Okay. I bet that was cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. So after 1 year at Brigham Young, you moved to another college, right?
Yeah, transferred to Kent State.
Okay. Closer to where you grew up, right?
Yeah, plus my sister got married, and the best man, Clark Goodman, he was going to Kent State, and he was telling me how great it was.
Okay.
So I transferred there. You talk about two ends of the spectrum. Brigham Young, where it was no parties at all, and you weren't even allowed to drink Coca-Cola or anything. To Kent State, which was party you know.
So you got, like you said, both ends of the spectrum. That's cool.
Yeah.
What was your major in college?
Economics.
Okay. And I know you met some good friends there. A lot of friends you still talk to today. I know one visited you last week. What are your names of your friends?
Tom Supke, Wally Frulich, Fran Avila, Brian Aroda. There's a few that come to mind right off the bat.
And I'm sure you didn't have any fun at all with those guys again, right?
No.
Any favorite stories?
I remember we were on a softball team. This was inter school,
Mm-hmm.
And I was on third base, and the guy got a hit, and I went home, and the catcher tried to block me, and I barreled right into him.
Blew him up.
Yeah. And he punched me, I punched him, and we're punching it out. And the ref kicked us both out. He says, "What's your name?" And I said, "Cal Sabo." And he asked the catcher, "What's your name?" He says, "Richard Sabo." Found out another Sabo was there. We end up talking after, and instead of sticking around watching the rest of the game, we went downtown and had beers together.
That's awesome. Was he a relative?
No.
No? Okay. That's it. I've never heard that story, Dad.
Yeah.
No. That's a good one.
There's a lot of Hungarians in Ohio.
Absolutely. I remember a story you told me about sneaking into the swimming pool.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Particularly, another good friend was Tom Galloway. He would go up where the fans are and crawl through these ducts. It was about 30 foot above the pool. And he would jump into the pool and then come and let me in, and we would swim in there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fun. I know you had some really good times at Kent. Let's move into family life. I know that's something you're very passionate about, and you've really instilled that in me and Lori. As well. Let's talk about how you met your beautiful, lovely wife, Rita. How did that go down?
Well, we both worked at Goodyear in different departments. But Rita and I also lived in Studio City at the same time. And she was having car trouble, and she needed a ride home, and asked me if I would give her a ride home, and I said, sure. After I gave her a ride home, we hit it off, and I started asking her out dates and stuff like that.
So it's her question that got you together, right? So it was Mom's master plan, I think, right? So you started asking her out. When did you know that you loved?
Well, there was no specific time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know we liked being together, and we enjoyed doing the same things, and it came across slowly but surely.
Absolutely, and that's one thing that I still see to this day, just the love that you guys have, and how you just love being together, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So you're definitely a role model for anyone that is married, so
Good.
that's awesome. How long have you been married?
52 years.
Wow,
Well,
that's
it'll be
awesome.
52 in October.
Halloween, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. How did you propose?
It was at Anthony's restaurant in the parking lot.
Okay. Did you drop to a knee?
No, we were inside the car.
Okay.
We had sort of talked about it before that.
Okay. Awesome.
Made it official then.
Okay. And she said yes?
Yeah.
When were you, I know we talked about Halloween. When were you married and who attended?
Okay. Was married October 31st, 1970.
Okay.
And my best man was Tom Zupke. Ushers were Wally Frillich, my brother Pat, and Tom Marcus.
Okay. And on mom's side? Joan?
Joan was the maid of honor.
Okay.
Or was
Nancy.
Nancy. Rita's good friend Nancy was the maid of honor. And she also made mom's wedding dress.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, no, she
Okay.
did.
Gwen did.
Joanne made the wedding dress.
Awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. After wedding, did you guys honeymoon?
Yeah, we went to Florida to Palm Beach.
Awesome. That I'm sure was an awesome time.
Oh, it was a good time.
Awesome.
One part of interest there, a bat got loose in the place. I tried to get it with a broom and messed up a fan.
Did you get the bat out?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. All right. You know, I think we touched on this a little bit, but I mean, tell me some of the qualities that mom has that made you fall in love with her.
Oh, her and I are always on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
We love the same things. We're devoted to each other.
Yeah.
And that is probably the main thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What are some of the you talk about activities you like? What are some of the things that you and mom like to do? I mean,
We liked going to movies, going out to eat, playing cards, and we also loved going to the library.
okay, yeah, and that your love of reading still
Yeah.
continues. Both of you guys love to read.
And
So
Mom got into genealogy. And
yes,
did a lot of that at the library.
yeah, and mom is incredible. Her genealogy research. I mean, it goes back hundreds of years on both sides. So it's amazing. All right. Here's a favorite topic of mine. When was your son born?
What's November 4th, 1972.
All right. And how did you come up with his name?
Just the name we both liked. We liked the name Eric.
Okay. And then you had a daughter. Woo woo. When was she born, and how did you come up with her name?
January 25th, 1975.
Four.
1974.
Yeah. So you remembered mine, and you did not.
That's what happens with a second one.
He's traumatized.
Yeah.
And this is something that I will always remember, just when we had kids, and I'm sure Lori feels the same way. What was your initial feeling when you saw your kids?
Oh, euphoria.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
If you can get really high on seeing your child born, there's something definitely wrong with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know, just from my memories, we had some incredible times growing up and traveling and things like that. What are some of your favorite stories that you remember about, us as a family of four doing things? Or
We try to include you in on almost everything we did, except the first time we went to Disney World.
what happened there?
What we went was a Goodyear travel club, and we left the kids at home. And they probably never forgave us for that. Other than that, Myrtle Beach was always a biggie. We loved going to Myrtle Beach.
Absolutely. And you drove a lot. I mean, you used to drive through the night to get there.
Yeah.
Right? Before, I mean, 77 was there, but it was a lot of back roads back in it, right?
West Virginia Turnpike was the worst.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
figured West Virginia Turnpike would be finished the same date that the last drop of oil in the world was dried up.
So we're just talking about travel and Myrtle Beach. What are some of your favorite memories of traveling? Any good stories that you have?
Well, I remember one time in Myrtle Beach, we were getting things out of the car and stuff. We were right by the elevator. You came up, running up. Sissy gone, Sissy gone. She got on the elevator door closed and took her down to the ground floor. We found her and got her out of there, and she was crying. Yeah.
It's traumatized her ever since. She hasn't been the same.
Yeah. I remember another time up in Toronto. I was in the pool, Lori jumped in, and I didn't see her jumping in, and she goes down to the bottom of the water, and I swim after her and bring her up. But she wasn't phased that time.
Mm-hmm. So all the traumatic moments are basically Lori's.
Lori scared the poop out of me many times. Oh, one other thing you two have in common, you both bit me when I was a kid. I remember Lori bit me while I was on the ground, and she bit me in the leg, and I got some kind of a rash, and then you were in a papoose, and I could hear this chomp, chomp, and then finally a bite in the neck.
Which one of us, I remember, got their hat stolen by a monkey?
I believe that was young Lori Jean. Lori Ann.
So many family memories. Me and Lori were just talking about earlier. One of my first memories is Ocean Reef. Out on the balcony, me and her sitting out by the register, just watching the ocean. I remember swinging on the swings out there. They had a park. But those were incredible memories for us.
I remember out there you throwing matchbox cars down at people.
Yeah, we threw that. I remember we threw those popper snappers and got in trouble. That was later when we were. And
I remember you having friends with two French Canadian kids that couldn't speak English.
Yes.
And you couldn't speak French, but that didn't bother you. You had a good time together.
And we were pen pals. I remember his name was Sebastian Dubé.
Okay, and I remember we went to Canada, and I think you ran into one of them.
I believe it was the other one. Yeah, I think Francois was the other one. And we were at Niagara Falls, I believe, and we ran into him, which is crazy. Right?
Yeah.
So that's awesome. What makes you proud about your kids and your family?
Well, they're all good people. I can't think of anyone in our family who's not a good person. They're all loving and caring, and they love being together.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We've traveled as a family. I mean, we still travel together as a family, and we just love each other's company, and I think that's awesome. Let's just move into your career real quick, and we only have a couple more questions left. We're doing great here. Goodyear. You're with Goodyear for how long?
31 years.
31 years. And who are some of your best work buddies?
That would be Bill Hankins, Tommy Seib, Tom Chapman. You remember Tom
Chapman, absolutely. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I spent the night over at his house once. We played Nintendo. Tecmo Bowl and that Mike Tyson's Punch-Out one night. Really nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe any work stories? I'm sure. I know. I've been All-State for years, and there's some great work stories there. But any favorite work stories you've had?
Well, some of my colleagues were sort of wild. Two older guys. Spencer Woodhill, who was sort of like a Neanderthal man. He was strong as a bull, but dumber than a donkey, And Carl Moore, the other old guy, they used to like to trade punches on the arms of each other, So one day, Spencer Woodhill, he goes out to the men's room and he sees Carl peeing in a urinal. So he gets behind him, gets him in a half Nelson, and starts driving his head down towards the urinal. Just before he got his face in the pee, Carl breaks up, and it's not Carl. It's some salesman from a flap company that was selling his flaps. He jumps up and runs out, doesn't even zip his pants up. And later on, the police are coming around trying to find out who tried to rape this guy in the jaw.
They ever catch it was Carl, right?
Yeah, no, they never caught anyone.
That's awesome. That's funny.
Another one, right beside the window where I worked, was a fire escape.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy that sat next to me, Jim Kayada, looks out, and there's a possum staring at him.
Carrying something on the head.
Oh, yeah. Another time, I'm going down the hall, and I put a bunch of reports on my head, like, walking with that and trying to balance them. And walk past this one office, and there's the Vice President Rick Adante in there holding a meeting. He sees me doing that. How's time on the meeting, and comes out and says, "Cal, it reminds me when I was a kid, me and my brothers would take the laundry down to the laundry room like that."
That's awesome.
I was so embarrassed.
But at least he was humorous about it, right? I feel like that's cool.
He always liked me.
Yeah. One thing I remember about your work, and I'm sure you'll remember it as well, is Mom would come and we would wait outside for you to come out and tell us what that was like when you came out of the doors.
Yeah. You guys would run on the wall beside me and jump into my arms.
Yep.
And I felt like $1 million. This one guy says, "Cal, you're the luckiest man in the world." I remember sometimes you guys would come and we'd grab you, and then Mom would have a lunch ready. We'd go to Wingfoot Lake and cook out, and then you guys loved the playground there.
Yes, those were definitely some awesome memories, great memories. Like next to talk about your love of Pittsburgh sports, especially the Steelers. That's been some of my favorite memories with you is attending some of those games. Tell me about how your love for the Steelers came and maybe some of your favorite stories of attending games.
Well, when I was young, watched the Steelers back in the 50s, back when they were the only team in football that still ran a single wing. And they were laughing stock of the league. And the Cleveland Browns would always beat the living crap out of them. And I always had a hatred for the Browns in those days and a love of the Steelers. My dad did a lot of business with a plumbing supply company that had season tickets, but no one ever warned them. So I could get the tickets, a lot of games, and we'd go watch them, and always loved them.
Absolutely. I know we attended many games. Do you have any favorite stories from Steeler games that we attended?
Yeah, I think one time there was a Browns guy who was trying to cook some tailgate, trying to ask me if I could loan him a lighter fluid or something, and I said, I don't talk to Browns fans.
Very much so. I remember a story where we played them in a playoff game, and you'll probably remember, and it was when Barry Foster was with the team, and there was a Browns fan like 2 rows back of you, and at some point during the game, you turned back to him and said, we're running the ball down your throat.
And you can't do a damn thing about it.
Exactly. Great memories for me, and really fun. Just the car rides there and back,
and going to training camp was fun too.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, got to get close and personal with a lot of the players and coaches. Yeah. So, still have the picture of me, you, and Bill Cowher. In our garage. So that's awesome. Just a couple more questions left. What are you most proud of about your life?
I'm most proud of Reed and I bringing into the world 2 fantastic children who then married outstanding spouses, and then bringing into the world outstanding children who are our grandchildren. And now we're happy to report we have a great-grandchild.
Awesome. Yeah, it's family. And it's something I've learned as well, that family is more important than anything. Well, it's faith, family, but that's something we got from you. And so that's awesome. What brings you most joy in life? I think I know the answer, but...
Being with family.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I am happiest in life when we're all together enjoying each other.
Absolutely. What advice would you give to Dave and Grace, Andrew, grandchildren or great-grandchildren as they grow up? What's some, maybe a couple words of advice that you'd like to give them?
I always preach, treat others like you want to be treated yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And be truthful.
Yep, absolutely.
And let your word be your bond. If you tell someone you're going to do it, do it.
Absolutely.
And become a close-knit family and trust each other and help each other.
Absolutely. This family is something that you've ingrained in us, how important it is, and just how important it is to share with each other the great memories and things of that nature. So that concludes our interview. Do you have any last words, Dad?
Well, I really enjoy you coming up and visiting. I really like that a lot.
Yeah. Well, I love you so much, Dad. It's been a privilege me interviewing you. You're my dad, but you're my best friend and my hero. So I love you.
And I love all of you guys.
Yep. All right.
I love you.
I love you too.
Yeah. All right.